as well. But John, you know, as you and I well know, the Democrats and certainly the Obama campaign, they were watching this speech. They were going through it line by line, and you are getting, and so am I, every journalist is getting a lot of email right now pointing out to what they claim are falsehoods, misleading statements, lies, if you will, that were made by Paul Ryan. And I guess those fact-checking is only about just getting ready to begin.
The fact-checking is beginning. Our team at CNN is at it. Wolf already. Other news organizations will do it as well, and you can be certain that's how it goes in campaigns. The Democrats will go through it line by line. Some of it will be clearly, you will say, that was a stretch. Other things will be debatable in politics. One thing Paul Ryan talked about was that GM plant that closed in Janesville. That plant was shut down under the Bush administration. That happens to be a fact. Now, he mentioned President Obama came to Wisconsin and thought maybe it would be reopened if the auto industry were revived. That may well be a fact as well, but the plant did close in the Bush administration. That's one. There's a huge debate, as you know, about Obamacare, the president's health care plan. It does get savings from Medicare and use them for the health care plan. There's a big debate about whether those savings come from the program. The administration says no, that they come from payments that would go out to doctors and other things. So you're taking money, but that, again, will be debated in the campaign. Let's continue our conversation with David Gergen, Gloria Borger, Ari Fleischer, and James Carville.
Can I
Please.
just add to your Medicare point, which is that the Ryan budget actually also assumed the same $716 billion in Medicare savings, not for, of course, the president's health care reform plan, but assume those savings for something else. Another thing with Paul Ryan, and he talked about the Bipartisan Debt Commission. Of course, he was a member of the Bipartisan Debt Commission. He voted against the product there, yet tonight he chided the president for doing nothing about it, saying they came back with an urgent report. He thanked them. Well, part of the they, was Paul Ryan, who didn't sign on to it.
Wouldn't sign on because they would require higher taxes as part of the Simpson-Bowles Commission, if you're watching at home and you remember that debate. It's a fascinating moment because he is the vice presidential candidate. I'm sorry, Aaron, you wanted to make a point? Jump in.
I want to say I had a chance to talk to Paul Ryan the day his budget came out, and we asked him about why did you vote against Simpson-Bowles on that crucial commission Gloria's referring to. His reason at the time was, well, I didn't like how it was dealing with health care and health entitlement. So that's why he said he didn't support Simpson-Bowles, which of course highlights the irony that Gloria rightly pointed out, which is that same $716 billion that the president would cut, so would Paul Ryan. Their plans much more similar in that sense than they are different.
And it highlights the choice, the next president, whether President Obama is reelected or Mitt Romney wins the election. You will have this debt and deficit crisis to deal with, and will we have what we have had the last 4 years, which is a Democratic Party that says you must get some increased taxes from the wealthy, and a Republican Party that says absolutely not.
Yeah, John, I just want to say, I think these factual checks are really important. They should be held accountable, and I do think there were some misstatements of fact. But let's not forget, this was a speech about big ideas. Right. And we haven't had that very much in this campaign. And that's what I thought was helpful about it. He's throwing down the gauntlet. He's inviting major conversation in the debates ahead about very conflicting views of what government should do.
I want to get up as you make that point, because I want to bring Ari and James into the conversation. Excuse me for walking across the camera. But this is the bet Paul Ryan is making. This is the 2008 map for president right here. I want to let the camera come around. I just want to show the wall, give the time for the camera to come around and get this shot on our air. This is the 2008 map for president. I want to make a point. Look at this part of the country right here. Mitt Romney was born in Michigan. Paul Ryan is from Wisconsin. I know Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts. This is 2008. This is 2010. These are the Senate races. These are the governorships Illinois has held on. What they are counting on in this pick is that this part of the country is willing to take the big issues you talked about. It's not just about geography. It is about the size of government, the role of government, whether these decisions should be made in Washington or by your governor. Ari Fleischer, 2010 was a midterm election. It is not a presidential election. They are apples and oranges, if you will, not apples and apples. Is that a safe bet, or is it the only bet Republicans can make?
No, John, you just nailed it. This is the huge issue. What style election is this? Who's turning out to vote? Is it going to be a 2010 model, a 2008 model, or a 2012 model? A lot of the polling is based on a 2008 model, which boggles my mind. They oversampled Democrats in some of these polls, and still it is a 50-50 dead-even race. If this race is between the 2004 and 2008 presidential races, which it probably will be, Bush won in 2004, big Republican turnout. Obama, huge Democrat turnout in 2008. Chances are Mitt Romney wins, and the Midwest is going to be that huge area of the fight. Michigan is in play, which amazes me. It hasn't been for generations for Republicans. And Wisconsin was a battleground before Paul Ryan. It's a real battleground now.
Wolf, come back into the conversation.
You know, one thing he did make a big point, and it's an accurate statement, that under the Obama administration, the national debt did increase by $5 or $6 trillion over these past nearly 4 years. What he didn't say is the national debt doubled during the 8 years of the Bush administration from $5 trillion to $10 trillion. And he also didn't point out that he, as a member of Congress, voted for some of the biggest expenditures, some of the biggest expansions of the federal government over those years, including a prescription drug benefit for seniors, including all the trillions of dollars spent in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, all those Defense Department spending as well. So this debate is only just beginning right now on all of these issues, and there's no doubt that next week at the Democratic Convention in Charlotte, we're going to hear a fierce response going after these Republicans.
But, you know, it's interesting. One thing I didn't hear from Paul Ryan was a huge call for tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts. Paul Ryan is somebody who is really a fiscal conservative, who likes to cut taxes, but we didn't hear that a lot to the audience tonight, Wolf, because he was talking much more about his differences with President Obama. But I think that's going to become a big issue when you have somebody who says we've got to get control of that debt. You have the debt clock up there. What do you do about repealing the tax cuts for the wealthy?